Hello everyone, welcome my YouTube channel. Putin says, no need for using nuclear weapons in Ukraine. Putin claimed that humankind now faces a choice. Accumulate a load of problems that will inevitably crush us all, or try to find solutions that may not be ideal but working and could make the world more stable and secure. The Russian leader said Russia isn't the enemy of the West but will continue to oppose the purported diktat of Western neoliberal elites, accusing them of trying to subdue Russia. Their goal is to make Russia more vulnerable and turn it into an instrument for fulfilling their geopolitical tasks. They have failed to achieve it and they will never succeed, Putin said. Putin reaffirmed his long-held claim that Russians and Ukrainians are part of a single people and again denigrated Ukraine as an artificial state, which received historic Russian lands from communist rulers during the Soviet times. In a frank statement, he acknowledged that the fighting in Ukraine effectively amounts to a civil war. Putin said he thinks, all the time, about the casualties Russia has suffered in the Ukraine conflict, but insisted that NATO's refusal to rule out prospective Ukraine's membership and Kyiv's refusal to adhere to a peace deal for its separatist conflict in the country's east has left Moscow no other choice. He denied underestimating Ukraine's ability to fight back and insisted that his special military operation has proceeded as planned. Putin also acknowledged the challenges posed by Western sanctions, but argued that Russia has proven resilient to foreign pressure and has become more united. News Wrap: Russia holds first nuclear drills since invading Ukraine. In our News Wrap Wednesday, fears of escalation mount in Ukraine as Russian President Putin oversaw his first nuclear drills since the invasion. Islamic State gunmen killed at least 15 people at a major Shiite holy site in Iran, and the man who drove into a Christmas parade in Wisconsin last year was found guilty of killing 6 people and injuring more than 60 others. Amna Nawaz. We begin tonight with the war in Ukraine, where fears of escalation are mounting, as Russian President Vladimir Putin oversaw his first nuclear drill since the invasion. The exercise involved submarines and practice launches of ballistic and cruise missiles. U.S. officials say Moscow gave advance notice of the tests. Putin also renewed the Kremlin's unfounded claims that Ukraine is plotting to set off a dirty bomb. NATO's Secretary General called the allegations baseless. Jens Stoltenberg, NATO Secretary General, President Putin is failing on the battlefield. We have also seen Russia accuse Ukraine of preparing to use a radiological dirty bomb. This is absurd. Allies reject this blatantly false accusation. Amna Nawaz. Russia's drills coincide with NATO's long-planned nuclear exercises in Europe this month. In Iran, Islamic State gunmen opened fire at a major Shiite holy site, killing at least 15 people and wounding dozens more. Iran's judiciary said 2 gunmen were arrested and a third is on the run after attacking the mosque in the southern city of Shiraz. Elsewhere, thousands of protesters rallied across the country to mark 40 days since Mahsa Amini died in police custody. Many marched on foot along a highway to her grave. Back in this country, the man who drove into a Christmas parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin, last year was found guilty of killing 6 people and injuring more than 60 others. A jury convicted Darrell Brooks on all 76 criminal charges, including 6 counts of first-degree murder. He originally pleaded not guilty by reason of mental disease, but withdrew that plea days before his trial without explanation. Meanwhile, in Michigan today, a jury found 3 men guilty in a plot to kidnap Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer. The men were convicted of providing material support for a terrorist act as members of a paramilitary group. They'd held gun drills with the leader of the kidnapping scheme. Their sentencing is scheduled for mid-December. With less than 2 weeks until the midterm election, a second woman is now accusing Georgia Republican Senate candidate Herschel Walker of helping her to get an abortion. The anonymous woman alleged he pressured her into the procedure and paid for it in 1993. Walker, who has been firmly anti-abortion during the campaign, called her claim, quote, foolishness and a lie. He's also denied a similar allegation from a different woman. Britain's new Prime Minister had a day of firsts, meeting with his new cabinet, and then facing the opposition party in Parliament. Rishi Sunak reiterated his pledge to restore economic stability after his predecessor's tumultuous exit. And during today's parliamentary session, he responded to calls for a general election from the opposition's leader. Rishi Sunak, British Prime Minister, it's a bit rich coming from the person who tried to overturn the biggest democratic vote in our country's history. Rishi Sunak. Our mandate is based on a manifesto that we were elected on, to remind him an election that we won and they lost. Amna Nawaz. Sunak also delayed by more than 2 weeks a planned economic statement outlining how they will tackle Britain's cost of living crisis. The world's 3 main greenhouse gases hit record highs this past year, according to a new report from the UN's weather agency. It estimated that temperatures will rise 4.5 degrees Fahrenheit by the end of the century. By 2030, they say, emissions will increase more than 10% from 2010 levels, if countries don't take tougher action to fight climate change. The Biden administration is giving out nearly $1 billion in grants for electric school buses in all 50 states and Washington, D.C. The new federal program will allow some 400 school districts to purchase about 2,500 zero or low-emission school buses. The move aims to reduce air pollution near schools and in surrounding communities. Mortgage rates in the U.S. have jumped to their highest level since 2001. The Mortgage Bankers Association reported that 30-year fixed rates rose to 7.16%, up from 6.94% the prior week. Loan application volume fell nearly 2%. Mortgage rates have more than doubled since the beginning of the year. And stocks were mixed on Wall Street today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 2 points to close at 31,839. The Nasdaq fell 228 points. The S&P 500 slipped 28. Still to come on the NewsHour, the threat of political instability rises as many candidates indicate they won't concede after the election. The city of St. Louis grapples with the aftermath of a school shooting and widespread gun violence. Companies severed ties with Yi after anti-Semitic remarks, but the debate over his popularity continues, plus much more. And Ukraine interested in building multifaceted relations with African countries. President Zelensky. President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky held a meeting with President of the Republic of Guinea-Bissau, Chairman of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, Umaro Sissoko Embalo, who is in our country with a visit. Welcoming the President of Guinea-Bissau in Kyiv, the Ukrainian head of state said that the first negotiations at the highest level in the history of bilateral relations took place today. It is important that Mr. President became the first leader of an African state to visit Ukraine after February 24 and have the opportunity to hear the truth about the situation in our country, a situation that affects all other states of the world, Zelensky said during communication with media representatives following negotiations with Embalo. He said that the criminal war unleashed by Russia and the deliberately provoked crises in the food and energy markets and in international relations greatly aggravated the social and political conditions in dozens of countries in Africa, Asia and Europe, where, due to Russian aggression, millions of people found themselves in the worst circumstances in the lives of several generations. Therefore, the unity of all conscientious leaders and states of the world is now necessary to overcome the threats to our common security, which arose due to the fault of the Russian Federation, the president of Ukraine is convinced. The head of the Ukrainian state briefed Embalo on Russia's new escalating steps. In addition, he thanked Guinea-Bissau for supporting the rules of international law and territorial integrity of Ukraine during the UN General Assembly vote on the resolution condemning the criminal Russian attempt to annex Ukrainian territory. Good day to everyone.